it's absolutely fabulous to be here today to talk about 5G and the things service providers are starting to do to launch innovative new 5G use cases and to be able to monetize those. So what's happening out in the industry today? Service providers are spending billions and billions of dollars to build new 5G networks. And those networks are expected to deliver somewhere around $13 trillion worth of value add to the global economy. So that's significant. But the key question becomes, how do service providers monetize the value that they're bringing with the 5G networks? And what sort of services do they need to launch on those 5G networks in order to be able to monetize it? Amdocs is the market leader in monetization. And so the key question that we get when we're out talking to all of our service provider customers is, what are the use cases we should be launching? How do we do it? And how do we monetize it? So that's what Joe and I would like to kind of share and talk to you about today. So if you have a look at what's up on the slide, our partner Telecom Infrastructure Project has actually done some research around this. And what they've found, if you look at the green bar going along the bottom, is that service providers that do 5G in a very similar way to how they do 4G today, which is kind of what we call business as usual, best effort service, can expect that their revenue or their business will grow by around 1.1% compound annual growth rate. But service providers that take advantage of the new capabilities that 5G brings and put in place some smart slicing and monetization capability on top of it can start to deliver a differentiated quality of service, SLA-based services out to the market and be able to monetize those. And that's going to enable them to grow their business by around 34%. So a significant difference between the two business models.
Absolutely, Angela. I think it's going to be a matter of the operators in terms of the war that will happen over the years in the future for differentiation. It's going to be really, the game will be trying to identify the slices that the market wants and which operator has the most attractive slices and who's identified the particular industries that will require particular slices. So this is definitely going to be the growth section.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's have a little bit of a look at how people are pricing 5G today. So the early 5G launches are kind of pricing consumer services in a very similar way to what we're used to with 4G, which is based on connectivity and voice and messaging and data, right? Data is kind of the killer app for 4G, and it's kind of what's coming out in 5G. And if you think about our experience of 5G today, it's a faster version, quicker data, faster on a 5G network than it is on a 4G network. But that's not the potential of 5G. So what you can see here is some research from our partner Amedia, which is all about the different 5G pricing strategies that are available to service providers. So down the bottom, you can see two kind of business as usual strategies. Do nothing, okay, continue to price 5G, very similar to how you price 4G, or what we call incremental fee. So maybe charge a small premium, and we're seeing some service providers charge an extra $5 or $10 a month for using 5G versus 4G. But that will put people pretty much in that 1.1% growth rate that we talked about on the earlier part of the presentation. So if service providers really want to start to monetize 5G, they need to do something different. And that's what you can see up in the bubble on the top of the slide that's behind me. So what are some of the examples? So the first is around speed tiers, okay? So speed tiers, 5G is a bit different to 4G in that you can actually give a different speed of service to a different user. So Joe may decide, hey, he's always on the road. He always has customer video calls. He always has things to do back in the office. So he runs virtual office, and speed of service is absolutely critical no matter where in the world that he is. And so he may be prepared to pay a premium for a higher speed of service than what, say, somebody in Joe's family is that uses Wi-Fi and 4G and a little bit of 5G, but speed's not the critical factor. Price is probably more the critical factor. So what we're seeing is some early innovators in the market pricing different speed packages, a little bit like you see different data packages today in the market. But the next thing is around data tiers. Okay, so we see some data tiering today in the market around 4G, but actually a lot of customers get capped packages or uncapped packages. So if we think about data tiers, that's another opportunity. But really, the real opportunity is around a combination of the new things that 5G brings. Okay, so if you see on this graph, we can see over on the left, people are offering faster speeds to services. So today, in the next 2 years, 41% of service providers will launch a speed tier package. But in 5 years, that will drop to 20%. As that doesn't become the key factor, other factors become the key things that people value in a 5G network. And what you can start to see as we move out 5 years is this thing over there where you can see telcos changing focus. So the third set of graphs. So service providers will move away from providing the sort of connectivity and data services that they do today to providing a whole new range of 5G digital services. And we talk about this as addressing new markets and new services. Some of it will be consumer, but the vast majority of it is going to be the service provider targeting the enterprise and providing really sophisticated, quality of service intensive, SLA-based services, okay? So in the next 2 years, roughly a third of service providers will start to launch those, but within 5 years' time, you can start to see that almost half service providers will be focusing their business around this.
Absolutely. Yes, and I think, when it comes to how this differentiation is going to take place between the operators, we're going to see that the operators are going to focus on offering particular network slices to the retail market, but there will also be network slices offered to particular industry segments. And to monetize this, to actually make money, it's going to be very important to have a charging and a policy capability. The charging system is obviously critical for being able to monitor and charge for each of the slices and the utility that a particular enterprise is getting from using a particular slice. And then the policy system is going to be very important to be able to manage the slice and make sure that the slice is delivering what the SLA for that slice is specified to do. So in an example here, we may have a particular capacity within the network dedicated to allow for automotive traffic, and that's separate to enhanced mobile broadband, where the retail market would be. And then all of the IoT, as we get the densification for IoT arriving, that traffic will be carried on a separate slice. So with Amdocs, with the charging and policy system that we have, that is a critical element to being able to monetize and charge for these slices. And we're going to see that different slices are created over time. Some of the capacity of the network is increased in particular slices. Other slices are speculatively tried and may be removed as they experiment with the market and try to drive this differentiation. So within this,
I think that's
please. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's 100% right. When we're talking about slicing, I think service providers are thinking about what are the new things that 5G brings. So if we think about 4G, it really brought data into play, right?
Right.
But 5G brings about 8 or 9 things into play that we don't have in 4G. So one is speed, which we talked about a little bit earlier. So if you're a Netflix user or a streaming video, any streaming video service user, then the speed at which you can download a video becomes key to the experience. So speed's important. But if you're a heavy gaming user like Joe and his family are, then actually latency or the responsiveness of the network becomes absolutely key for online gaming. So you may value latency as the key attribute of 5G. If you're a logistics company and you're monitoring trucks or bags or shipping, then the mobility of the service is absolutely key. If you're an IoT person, if you've got a smart meter or a wearable or a trackable, then protecting the very, very small battery in those devices and keeping that battery life becomes key. And there's a few more examples like this that 5G enables a service provider to do. So when we're talking about setting up a slice, we're talking about slicing for these technical capabilities that the 5G network brings. and then mapping those to the sort of service that a consumer wants and charging for them. So Joe's going to take us through some of the different sort of use cases that we see in the market that actually need slicing and monetization around these new 5G capabilities.
Absolutely. So there are many different enterprises that will take full advantage of this slicing capability. And one that we're seeing is in stadiums, where there's a lot of densification of retail subscribers. So in a stadium like this, where you may have 80 or 90,000 people, it's important that people are able to send data from one side of the stadium to the other. But at the same time, if someone starts streaming video, we need to be able to traffic shape them and be able to have them on a particular slice so that everyone gets a fair shake of traffic in the network, that everyone is able to transmit data. And at the same time, the stadium owners and the sponsors may want to provide particular new innovative services. And in this example, you could see the stadium providers being able to provide that augmented reality visualization of the plays that have just taken place. So you get different perspectives, and these services will be carried on different slices, and you've got to pay a fee for receiving these services. Or if you're aligned with the particular sponsor for the stadium, then these might be free with the with your subscription. So there's going to be a lot of innovation in slicing, and in particular being able to drive these services. And AR in particular is very video intensive. There's a lot of data to be transmitted very quickly, and so this requires a particular slice in the network that's provisioned to have the capacity to be able to deliver traffic very quickly, and also stream traffic from content servers that may be in the cloud. So certainly this is one area that we see some innovation in, and there are others. I mean, hospital groups will be looking at slicing because they'll have many different types of traffic. In this example here, either a hospital group or a port authority, a large enterprise that does not want to mix different types of traffic together. So you might have, facility access and security being carried on one type of slice. You may have communication between employees. So let's say doctors calling from one floor of the hospital to another, or between hospitals within a hospital group, that traffic is carried on a different slice to the facility communication, and the MRI machine, which will burst a lot of traffic to the cloud servers, is on a separate slice, which doesn't suffer latency and has a lot more capacity than, let's say, the capacity dedicated to voice calls. So within this, we're going to see operators engaging with particular enterprises, understanding their business, and then providing a variety of different slices for different costs. So some slices may be relatively inexpensive to provide, and some may be very expensive to provide. So this is where the money will be made in 5G in the coming years, and certainly being able to provide different slices with different capabilities is going to be critical.
It's really interesting, isn't it? You can kind of see, we've all had experience of going into a stadium or to a major event, whether you're into sports or, music concerts or live festivals. And, what's the first thing you do? You pull out your phone and you try and share something on social media or, find your friends, and you can't even get a connection. And so we've all had that kind of experience. So the first thing service providers are looking to do around these, massive gatherings of people, although not at the moment, but, when people get together and they're all competing for connectivity, the first thing service providers can do is put in slices into the network that let all of those devices connect in the one place at the one time. And then, kind of like you talked about, then we want more and more things, right? We don't just go to the physical event anymore and have the physical experience. We want the virtual experience as well. We want to be able to get different camera angles, and we want to be able to replay things, and we want to look up player stats. And, there's all this really amazing technology coming out where you can actually track the player on the field and try and watch their moves. And people really want this sort of virtual experience, even when they're physically at an event. So the service providers are working very closely with the stadiums and the sports teams and all of the innovative digital services companies to start to deliver these things to us. And then they're monetizing them through different slices, a slice for connectivity, a slice for latency, a slice for real-time player tracking. And you can really start to see how over time, as more and more innovation comes into play in the broad ecosystem, the service providers are going to be able to deliver new SLAs and deliver new monetization models.
It's going to be very cool. I think if you're in a stadium with some friends and you want to discuss the play that's just taken place, that you can do the follow the ball view, which has just become available because it takes a few seconds for the processing to take place, but then you get this high resolution view of the play and you can be telling your friend, yes, look, this is what's just happened. And these are experiences that, there'll be a charge for, and they're certainly not available today. And because they involve a huge amount of data being moved very quickly, you need to be able to make sure that that experience is worth waiting for. And so you can get it very quickly to your phone. You can show your friend, hey, look at this. This is what just happened. I was right. Look, this play, this is the mistake that was made. And this will improve that engagement. And so for the retail market, these slices and the particular markets that they're targeted at are going to be undiscovered country. These are going to be new markets. This is how operators are going to make money going forward, and they'll be doing them with partners. They'll be offering some web content, and then of course when it comes to the industrial applications, there are going to be so many. And so what will be the evolution here, I think, is the beginning of a number of slices, 3 or 4 slices in the industry being offered by operators. And as the months and years go on, we're going to see a proliferation of slices, and the number of slices will go for 3 or 4 being offered by a particular operator to many more as the market becomes more accustomed to purchasing slices as part of the service. So it's going to be quite a different world, and this is why operators are getting ready for this battle of differentiation to be able to achieve this brand in the market that they're going to want with their retail subscribers and with industry.
Yeah, it's a really good point, isn't it? So I kind of mentioned at the top of the conversation that the number one question we get asked is around, what sort of 5G use cases should they be putting in the market and how to monetize them. But probably the second question asked after that is, where do I start? How do I get started? And so maybe we should, have a little bit of chat about where people are starting and how they're going about this problem, because it really is the start of the journey around 5G and 5G slicing and 5G monetization. I kind of think of it a little bit around how service providers build networks, right? They come up with their network architecture and they pick the technology and they pick their technology partners, and then they come up with a plan to gradually roll it out, month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year. And we think it's the same thing around slicing and monetization. So what some of our early adopter customers are doing is they've said right at the start of deploying 5G, they also need to deploy the 5G slicing and 5G monetization platform that lets them start to define what use cases they want to put in market, onboard the various partners in the ecosystem, put the slices into the network, monitor those slices to make sure that the quality of service that they're promising you is actually being delivered by the network, and then to be able to monetize that. So they're putting that platform into place right at the start. And then incrementally, and we all use the word agile these days, but incrementally, they're putting more and more use cases onto that platform, pretty much in a incubation trial phase today, right? So what you can see actually on the screen is one of our service provider customers starting to do this, right? So they've put in place the Amdocs network slicing and network monetization platform in conjunction with a number of partners that can deliver this onto the network, that can assure this, can bring in place new use cases. And they're trialing those in their labs, and in some places they're trialing them with 1 or 2 very early adopter enterprise customers to really start to get used to the concept of how do we do this, but also to start to figure out what works and what doesn't. because not all of these things are going to work, right? And not all use cases are going to succeed in the market. There is no one killer app around the world. And so the key thing is that they've got the right platform and the right agility in place, that they can define a use case, put it into the market, see if it works. If it works, they want to be able to scale it very successfully, right? There's nothing worse than putting something into the market and getting a lot of customers, and then customers get disappointed because it doesn't deliver on the promise that you've made them. But if it doesn't work, it's equally important to be able to shut it down quickly and move on to the next one. And that's really what we're starting to work with service providers around, is put in place this platform and then work with them and work with a broad ecosystem of partners to let them incubate and innovate around these new 5G digital services, and to make sure that they've got the right platform to let them do that.
Yeah, I think when you look at the number of partners that an operator currently has compared to the number it will have in the future, we're certainly going to see a lot of the IoT companies with particular capabilities that their device may have working directly with particular partners. So you may have works best with a particular operator's name for a particular device. So if you go into a retail location, you pick up a device, it may have a capability to stream video, and that device will hunt down and find the particular operator for that country that you're in, find the operator attached to a particular slice that it knows is there, and then that device would stream video. So if you had a camera, or if you had a doorbell that's attached to the 5G network that is able to send messages and send videos, you could say, well, you know, the 780 or the 720 video I'm seeing is not high resolution enough. I want a very high def video. And then if you want that, then you can configure the device to be able to attach to the streaming slice that is the ultra high D slice. And you pay a little bit more for that, but that's a capability that the device offers, that they've done a partnership with a particular operator. And we will see many different device companies coming in and looking at the variety of slicing that's available. So their device may not necessarily need a slice. They may join the general IoT slice, or they might say, look, our capability, our street cameras require their own slice. So if you're monitoring a business park, you may want your cameras to be streaming video to the security center, and they're prepared to pay for that slice. And so as Angela says, there's going to be lots of iterative experimentation here to be able to see what are the markets that work, and where they don't work, then the slice is skinnied and the capacity is reduced, or it's withdrawn completely. And with the Amdocs system, we're able to configure these slices and bring them into production and out of production with a whole management environment that allows the operator to keep up with the speed that the market is running at, and to be able to serve these partners in a very quick and efficient way.
Yeah, that's really the critical point around this, isn't it? That the service providers need to be very agile and very responsive, and they need to be able to see the full life cycle of these use cases that they deploy into market. So you need to be able to quickly onboard your partner ecosystem. You need to be able to quickly define the product you want to put into market, launch it into market. You need to be able to start to monitor that it's actually working and delivering what the customer expects. And you need to be able to monetize it and adjust the monetization to maybe initially have some very premium plans around it while you're the only person in the market, but then change those plans to be competitive as other people copy you over time. So having that complete capability, and you can kind of see it down the left-hand side of the slide that's behind us, that full life cycle of slice management, monetization for these new innovative 5G use cases is pretty much what people are looking for.
Absolutely. And I think the monetization system is going to be so important to be able to be flexible and easily configured. And the tariff plans could be introduced for very short periods of time, or it could be standing tariff plans. So it's going to be very exciting in the future. And for operators, because they're going to be able to keep up with the speed of the market, which is very important if they're going to make money from 5G.
Yep, absolutely agree with you. So it's been fabulous to be here today and to be sharing some of the insights from Amdocs around 5G slicing, 5G monetization, what the industry is doing and what service providers are asking us for and starting to do in the early stages of this. So with that, I'm going to say, hey, great, Joe, great to be here with you, and hand back to the studio. Thank you very much.
Thank you.